I gotta Google something real quick and see if there's a connection between what I learned today and hot dogs.
Okay.
Uh, basically, I got to see if there's a connection between hot dogs and nuclear fusion.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Maybe.
there must be some sort of connection, right?
There could be.
Must.
Where's the best way to go? Grok, right? Some sort of AI,
Yeah.
Chat
Do
GPT.
aliens like eating hot dogs?
Hold on,
Do
no.
aliens like to suck the nitrates out of hot dogs? You gotta suck those hot dogs real hard to get the nitrates out. Everyone knows that.
This is
That's
gonna
the
be
only way.
a great
Which
episode.
makes perfect sense if you look at the classic gray alien with their tiny little mouths, man. It's like perfect for just a suction
Sucking
of
a hot dog.
pulling the nitrates out of the hot dogs.
Yeah, I don't think it works on all sausages. I think it depends on how they're I don't know. Do sausages have nitrates? All of them?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't even know really what a nitrate is.
Huh?
I know aliens like to suck them off.
Huh.
That's
Nitrates have popped up in contexts adjacent to fusion research. For instance, in some early nuclear weapons developed, think 1940s, 50s, nitrate-based explosives were part of the conventional trigger mechanisms used to initiate fission, which then drove fusion in thermonuclear bombs. The nitrates weren't part of the fusion itself, but helped create the conditions for it by compressing the fusion fuel. Wow.
So they stuffed them with hot dogs.
Oh,
Hell yeah, dude.
man. So fusion or fission, right? So you take
Yeah.
hydrogen, that's where they get the H bombs from, right? And you have the one electron and neutron, right? And they're bonded together, and splitting the atom. That's the whole act that the energy force that's released from the H bomb as it goes off. It's the act of separating these two is splitting the molecule, the atom, right?
Mm-hmm.
That act is called fusion, and they used to use nitrites to trigger that. So that is absolutely connected to what I learned today, and that is very interesting.
You're welcome.
Very interesting.
Fuck.
Hot dogs.
Damn. Ugh.
I'm just
Fuck.
saying we should all get together and have a weenie roast.
Oh. Ashes, have you used Riverside before?
I mean, yes and no. I've never been live with Riverside before.
Okay. Well, we're it streams to our Twitch and our YouTube. So we're live on Twitch and YouTube right now. We currently have a couple people chatting in the chat on Twitch. Our YouTube usually gets one or two. Oh, it actually has two people in it right now.
Oh.
And our Twitch gets a little lively. But if you go over to our chat function on Riverside and you click on live stream chat in our chat function, it'll bring up everybody. We have somebody, drunk, first time catching y'all live, found your channel from Riz Verk episode. Sweet. Riz was awesome. That was a great episode. That was the episode when we were part of the Paranormal Network. He came on and talked to us about simulation theory. Riz is phenomenal, absolutely great. Actually, may or may not have talked to him recently, Jake, and may or may not have him back on the show at some point here very soon. We'll see.
Sounds like both of those may or may nots are actually mays.
Kenzar says Ashers, so she's excited to see you. That's good.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Just a heads up though, for some reason, the interface with Riverside, I know it says message everyone on the chat. Do you see that at all?
I do. Yeah, I just got the chat pulled up. Yes.
Okay. So that doesn't really work.
Oh,
So if you do want to join the chat,
pull
you
it up on the
can
phone.
just pull up Twitch or YouTube, or just answer them verbally. More than welcome to.
Sure.
By all means. I can also go through. I don't know if you have access to do it, but like I can click on like Drunk's chat here.
Oh.
I brought it up on the screen, so now when people see this on YouTube, when it goes live on YouTube, or when it goes on Twitch, that message will pop up. Why does Asher's have a bomb wired behind her? What was it?
Yes. What's with that bomb right there?
What is
This
it?
bomb?
That.
Is that a
That's not your business.
It's a bomb.
Skeeter? It's not your business.
It's a it's supposed to be a smart charger. It's not. It doesn't. All it does is tell me how much power things are using. And that's it. It's a fancy charger.
Ah,
Well,
Yeah. But to my real friends, it's a bomb. So
yeah. It's C4. That's going to be the topic of the night. The bomb that Kenzar or Asher's is building.
using hot
Sorry.
dogs.
It does really look like a bomb, doesn't it? It says Kenzar. That's
for
funny.
those that came in a little late, or actually we started it a little late. We can't blame it on you guys being late.
No, it's their fault.
Yeah.
Asher's dropped some
Pieces of
knowledge on
crap.
us. There was, you know what? Screw that. We'll wait until we're actually recording the episode. I'm gonna have you reshare that, because that gem was amazing.
Sure.
Sorry. It's high quality podcasting.
It has to do with
content.
aliens and sucking wieners.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yep.
It does. It does. I'm trying not to form any conversation. I have a ton of stuff to ask you, because usually we wait till 8:10 and then I go through all the introductions and stuff, and then that's the official start. But we give everybody a moment to join in, and we chat with the chat for a little while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and pull the trigger now. You guys ready to roll?
Whenever.
Yeah.
Alrighty. All right. Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Jeremy. Today we have a special guest again for like the 6th week in a row. This is the norm. This is the new thing, everybody. You guys are going to see a new face every single time. We have now replaced Jeff with much more hair. There's a lot more hair in Jeff's place now.
And it's red.
It is red. Yes.
Yeah.
But before we introduce the new red hair Jeff replacement, Jake, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah. Doing okay. We had Whitney's birthday this weekend, so she's a big old 35.
Ooh,
She's
happy
old,
birthday,
man.
Whitney.
Yeah, she's super old.
Stop it.
She's gonna come down here and beat me.
Good. I hope she does it on camera.
Yeah, I'm only 33. Like, she's pretty old. Finishing up my big old syrup evaporator, so hopefully I won't miss the entire sugaring season. I started that project way too late. Whitney bought a bunch of bees, so I had to set up a bee box today. So when they show up here in about a month, I'll be able to put them in there, because we don't really have any bees here, so none of our fruit trees got pollinated, like, at all. We got one plum out of 9 trees, and I was like, oh, good. So we're doing the whole bee thing, so that should be fun. And yeah, nothing much. Bunch of chores to do tomorrow. So
nice. I got to move couches
Yep.
tomorrow. I get new couches tomorrow. So
ooh,
yeah, we're crazy. We have a 2-year-old so we're gonna buy new couches. It's genius.
Yeah.
It's just, we're not crazy. But anyways, but besides that, nobody's here for that. Our guest, some may say that she's the reason why this podcast even took off in the first place. She's one of the
Some
first.
say that.
Some would say that. Some would say
Yeah.
that she is the reason why our Injured Cold special did anything at all. Some would say that if it wasn't for her, Jake and I would be done podcasting, and we would just.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Some would say that we would be nobodies, or maybe some people would say that we still are, but maybe we would just be less than, right? Possibly.
Yeah.
I am proud and happy and excited to bring to you, everybody, the host of the On Wednesdays We Talk Weird podcast, Miss Ashers, aka Ashley Hilt, aka author Ashley Hilt,
AKA red-haired Jeff.
Look, aka the red-haired, long-haired Jeff.
I was gonna change my name, but it wouldn't let me. But thank you for that introduction. If it makes you feel any better at all, I'm also nobody. So, frankly, I've kind of learned that in the paranormal, there's just only so far you can go. So.
It does seem that way, huh?
It is that way. I promise. Keep your day jobs.
Don't tell me what to do.
But fair. But yes, thank you for having me back on again. I remember I ended up being in a group chat with a bunch of other nobodies and just a bunch of other people, and I think they forgot I was in the group chat, and they were talking about like, oh my god, have you guys heard of Infinite Rabbit Hole? Did you see that they had Astros on for 10 hours talking about Injured Cold? And they were like, they thought that you guys were like the luckiest people in the world. So
Oh wow.
Little does everyone know that I kind of forced her to do that. I didn't tell her.
Yeah.
She had no idea it was going to last that long. But
yeah.
We got a question from the chat real quick.
10 hours straight. It was crazy.
Drunk chimed in from YouTube. Is this your first episode y'all showed face? It is not. This must be the first episode that you're seeing live. We're actually recording this live right now, Drunk, just so you know. And he also said she has red hair, so I'm gonna automatically believe everything she says. That's fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely fair. But yeah, no. For a little while there, we did pair up and we partnered and we did Monster Radio for a little while. That was fun. What happened there?
I got very busy, and the way I was kind of managing it was a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a myriad of co-hosts, and it's just, I think that some people didn't play ball, and I'm very nice, and instead of just firing them and moving on to the next thing, I started writing a book and doing other stuff. So
she did.
Yeah, I did. It doesn't mean that it won't come back. It doesn't mean that I didn't like having you on specifically. You were definitely there to play ball. But I think that if I want to do that, if I want to rekindle that in the future, I need to rethink how I want to do it, being such a nice person and all.
Yeah. Well, it was a fun experience. And if you ever do want help doing it again, I'm there for you for sure. It was a blast. If anybody's interested in hearing Ashers and myself team up for a project, that's on the on Wednesdays We Talk Weird RSS feed, right?
It is. Yep, it is. We did the Phantom Black Dogs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was one other one too, didn't we?
I feel like we did another one, and I am having a very hard time remembering what it was.
Yeah, I am too.
Lizard Man? No, it wasn't Lizard Man.
It might have been. I don't remember. Huh. I guess you're just gonna have to go check it out.
You're just gonna go have to listen to all I have like 300 episodes in total. You're gonna have to listen to every single one, find out which ones they are.
See how simple that was? Just gonna have to go do it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Jake, you got any questions before we dive into this for here?
No, but she's absolutely right. I Googled paranormal researcher one time, and it literally said, by definition, a bunch of nerds, dorks, and simps and nobodies that go into dark places and scare each other and record it. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense. She's like, well, goodbye then.
It is what it is. You know, this is the reality of it.
I love this show. It's great.
Well, you got to have her say the whole thing about the aliens and the wieners.
Oh, no, yeah. Before we jump in the book, we got to talk about Frogman Festival. How was that? That was last weekend.
It was. It was fantastic. It always is. I've been emceeing the Frogman Festival since it started. Will continue to do so as long as cartographer Jeff Craig, an event organizer, will have me. It really is great. So the first year that we did it, Jeff had MetaZoo come, and MetaZoo was the cryptid trading card game.
That's
people.
so cool.
And they did a $50,000 tournament. So it was a huge turnout, right? It was a lot of people. While we went on to go do the second year, and MetaZoo wasn't going to be there. So we didn't really know what it was going to be like. We're like, well, surely it's not going to be nearly as many people. But we were proven wrong. People showed up, probably about 1,500 people or so showed up.
Wow.
It went well. So this year, being the third year, Jeff said, "Hey, I think we can make this a weekend event." So so we did. So it was both days, Saturday and Sunday. Both days, it went awesome. It went great, and people there are so lively, and I really like it because it's only like 40 minutes away from my house. So everybody there is, to me, a local. Not everybody. People show up from Canada, from as far away as Canada, to attend Frogman Festival. But it's nice to put some names to some faces again, especially people that I can kind of get into. What I really like about it is that normally I'm the transplant, right? So I go to a different state. I'm going to go give a lecture on something. And people tell me their stories, and they tell me their stories, and I'm, 6 hours away from home. And it's unfortunate because I don't really have the resources to thoroughly investigate what it is they're talking about. Whereas with this, I do have the resources because they're right in my backyard, and I can go to their properties, or I can have a sit down conversation with them. So that's really cool. But yeah, it was great fun. Brought the book. It was the book's official debut. It sold out on the first day before I even gave my talk. So
That's so cool.
can't complain.
So I can't believe Ashers, we did the Loveland Frogman together.
Oh my god. Yeah.
We did the Phantom Black Dog and the Loveland Frogman.
We're like, what is it? Where are those? You're right. That is the one we
How
did.
great is that? Speaking of MetaZoo, it was probably like a year and a half ago. I had a fan message me on Facebook, and they're like, "Hey, have you ever heard of MetaZoo?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Let me send you some of these." And they sent me some cards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So these are MetaZoo cards.
There you go.
And so if you're a fan of like cryptids and mythology, lore, and all of that, this is, and you like things like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon trading cards, that kind of stuff. This is your game. This is it right here.
Well, they're
Like,
defunct now, so they did
Are
go
they?
out of business.
Did they really? Oh no.
They really did. They actually, the owner was a real piece of shit. I got drunk with him one time. For real. At an Airbnb during CryptidCon. Yeah, for real. And terrible person. He brought a bunch of people with him. They were all terrible people. But anyway, I don't know exactly what happened. I think what happened was like money laundering and
Oh man.
So, but
Really?
that's okay. It was super popular. People loved it, so more people have been creating the product again because there is a demand for it. So I think Camp Cryptid is the newest cryptid trading card game.
Camp Cryptid, huh?
So check that out. Very similar to MetaZoo. I don't know if the rules and stuff are similar, but I don't know how that works, right? It's a card game. It's cards. You play with cards. How different can it be? You know.
I don't know. I have no idea. No idea. But I'll have to maybe I should take better care of these, and maybe they'll be worth
Yes.
something one day. I got like a little chibi Mothman. I don't know if you can see him. Yeah, look at him.
One of the Mothmans is worth like a lot of money.
I saw that. He's like worth a
Yeah.
couple $100.
It was like 11,000 at one point. So
What? No.
yes.
Let's look this up. MetaZoo
Yeah.
Mothmans.
I had a first edition from their Kickstarter when they started, like an open pack that I got from a friend, and I ended up selling it for like $300.
Ooh. Jeez. Oh yeah.
Probably could have gotten more at some point, but
Oh yeah. Well, I got one right here, $777. Jeez. That's cool. My chibi Mothman's worthless.
hey.
He's worth nothing. Well, maybe
Well, I mean, what's it worth to you? That's what matters, right?
it's worth whatever this penny sleeve is worth. No, it's worth more than that because I got it from a listener. I thank that listener. Thank you, listener. Yeah, cool. We got a question from Skeeter the Common King. He asked, "Is Asher's coming to UFO Days?" I have not talked to her about that, but she is more than welcome to come and present. I'll leave that ball in her court.
I don't know what UFO Days is.
You don't know what UFO Days is? That is the festival here, about 15 minutes away from us, Jake.
Yeah.
It's in this little town called Elmwood, Wisconsin, and it's all based around this series of UFO events that happened back in the 60s and 70s in Elmwood, and this it really revolves around this one particular event. There's 3 really big events, and then multiple, I mean, hundreds of smaller events, but 3 bigger ones and then one really big one, where an officer had come in contact, or he went to go investigate what he believed to be a fire up on top of a quarry. Went up on top of the hill, discovered that this UFO was hovering over the quarry or just beyond the quarry, and a blue light had shined off of the craft, and he was found knocked unconscious and died 10 months later from radiation poisoning and all kinds of crazy health issues. Ultimately, from a heart attack from a gentleman who never had any cardiovascular issues whatsoever in his life. I'm actually in the middle of writing a book on it right now. Yeah, I'm doing the planning for all of the presenters and everything. So if you're interested, you're in. Just go ahead.
You run UFO Days?
No. That is the president of UFO Days is an amazing woman. Her name's Amy. She's phenomenal. But this year she put me in charge of setting up the presenters. We presented last year. I presented the story of Elmwood to Elmwood. And it went so well that she asked me to do the whole lineup this year. So yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
When is it?
Last full weekend in July. But
maybe let me figure that out. My co-host is in Wisconsin,
Oh, really? Where?
He's in some small town.
Oh, I know who your co-host is. Never mind.
Dude, he's on TV.
Yeah, I know who your co-host is. Huh? Tobias
Whalen.
Yeah.
Tobias Whalen.
I'd be surprised if he doesn't know about UFO Days.
He probably does.
He probably does. Yeah. If you guys want to present, you're more than welcome to. For sure.
Come crash the party.
Absolutely. More than welcome. Present whatever you want. For sure. present Injured Cold.
That's what I've been doing. That's my circuit right now. Anyway, do you want to talk about hot dogs? Do you want me to bring that up?
Yeah, we might as well
Yeah.
talk about the hot dogs.
We can talk about this.
Okay, yeah.
Unless people want to listen to us plan UFO days, I guess,
No. Come on. We'll talk hot dogs. Everyone, trust me, they all want to hear about the hot dogs.
They want to hear about the hot dogs. So, one of the things that I kind of grabbed onto when I give my presentations about stuff, I hate. I do not like to use a PowerPoint. So normally that's what you'll see at these events, right? You'll see somebody with a big old PowerPoint presentation. That's what they follow, and you're watching it, and you're listening to them. I don't do that. I just sit down and I tell them right at the beginning, we're just having a conversation, right? It's just me talking to you about something really cool and really weird. And I also like to be funny. I think I'm funny, right? So I try to be funny. People laugh. I don't know if it's out of because they feel bad or what, but they do.
They're laughing. They're not laughing at you. They're laughing next to you.
Next to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least you don't have Jake up there with you because he'll make sure they're laughing at you
That's you're probably right. Yeah,
or booing you.
He'll probably
Yeah.
just flap through the room. So I'll kind of grab onto something. It just depends on what it is. I'm really good on my feet. The first time I talked about Injured Cold, I had a bit accusing different people in the audience of being Injured Cold. They like that. This time around, hot dogs became a thing. And actually, there's a little bit more to the story that I didn't share. So I'll share the whole thing. So we had kind of talked about how, Indrid would come with his family, to the Derenberger home, and they would have like big family picnics and whatnot. And, Tanya mentioned a lot. Tanya repeated the same stories a lot. So anything, you guys had her on your show. I had her on my show. I've talked to her a bunch. It's all the same stories you can get in Beyond Lanulos, like almost repeated verbatim. Like it's the same stuff. So one thing she talked about was how they were fascinated by the hot dogs. They were like really thrown off by them because they don't have processed foods on Lanulos. And so I don't remember how hot dogs got thrown into the joke of things for a while, but it did. And at one point in time during my talk, so at the venue that we were at, they served food, they served hot dogs, and I was the last speaker of the day. And they cut in to announce that they were doing a special $1 hot dog. So it was funny. We all had a good laugh. We're like, oh my god, hot dogs! This is over. Let's go get hot dogs. Anyway, so after my talk, somebody comes up to me and they wanted to talk about hot dogs, and they were talking about this connection between UFOs and hot dogs. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Um, this is silly, but no, they had really good arguments. So they were talking about how there was like one UFO abduction case where the guy was driving down the road and he was driving like a food truck, like a hot dog food truck. And one of the things that ended up missing at the end of his situation were his hot dogs. Then he went on to say, well, it's not just like about hot dogs, right? It's not like they just love hot dogs. It's that there's something about nitrates and UFOs. So then they mentioned the Betty and Barney Hill case, and they were saying that in Betty and Barney Hill's trunk of their car, they had fertilizer, and the fertilizer ended up being missing. And that one I definitely fact check. I'm familiar with Barney Hill. That one was true. I don't know about the hot dog truck guy. But it was super interesting. So now I'm interested to see what the connection is there. I don't know for sure. But I mentioned this, and Jeremy, you got very excited about.
I did. Yeah. So not. I did. Okay. I did. Not. So during my research, because I'm working on a new project right now, which is another podcast, and it's a documentary podcast, so it's there's no talk show aspect to it whatsoever, and it's going to be a really, really nice blend between all this weird stuff and science and physics and chemistry and everything, and I got to really dive into a subject that has been brought up on this show quite a bit, specifically by Jake. and the question that Jake poses quite a bit is, uh, if they are if UFOs are extraterrestrial or non-human at all, why do they have exterior lights? Why do they follow FAA regulations? Why do they have a human concept to them whatsoever? It was just a good question. Why is that? And it's something that's always kind of stuck in my mind. It's very, you know, very exciting, and it kind of leans into, well, UFOs could potentially just be human, right? If it looks like human, it smells like human, tastes like human, it's probably human.
Looks like a human.
It's probably human, right?
Mhm.
So, um, I read something today while doing my research, and I was like, that is a very interesting view on this. And all I'll say is that it ties in the exterior lighting of UAP with the concept of nuclear fusion. Um, and when you said that about nitrates going missing, I had to do a quick Google search on if there was any connection between nitrites and uh, nuclear bombs or fusion or any nuclear reaction whatsoever. And there is. Back when they were creating the original H bombs, the hydrogen bombs, they used to use nitrites as the trigger mechanism to create fusion, which is the reaction that causes the splitting of the atom. So basically, uh, think of it like this, right? If you were to take two, I don't know, baseballs and stick them together with a high powered spring and pull them apart and let go, what would happen? They would slam back together. Well, that's your electron and your neutron, right? And that spring on the inside is the bond that they have together. That's their potential energy. That's what holds them together. Now think of that on the molecular level. We can pull them apart, but they always come back together. That is their potential energy. So by adding nitrate to that, they were able to create fusion, which split the atom, which separated the two, and all that energy that was used to keep them compressed together was now expelled outwards, which, when you have enough of these reactions happening at once, resulted in an atomic explosion.
Sure.
H bombs, atomic bombs. Now that somehow ties in with exterior lighting on UAP in my research. And there may be somebody who's listening to this right now that knows exactly where my research came from. So they know what avenue I'm going down. But all I could say is that the first season of the new project is going to be very mind bending and exciting. So that, I don't know, that just added a whole nother layer to things. So
Yeah.
now we just have alien beings out there stealing hot dogs and fertilizer from people. And the whole Betty and Barney Hill story was really just to steal shit out of their trunk. It's wild, man. It's crazy. Love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've read the book at all, then you know that probably then these were just humanoids, right?
Mhm.
The little sticky fingered counterparts to all the other aliens, I guess, that love to steal shit. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if I could say shit.
Yeah, you're fine. You're
Okay.
fine.
So my solution was to say it twice, right? Just for it to cancel
Yeah.
each other out.
Yeah. That's how it works.
Anyway, very cool, very exciting. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. Man, I really want to. I can't wait. Anyways, let's talk about the book.
Sure.
Let's talk about the book. So this is the first time I really got a chance to talk to you about Indrid Cold
Yeah.
since Tanya's passing, which is sad. That sucks. I did get to read your book. I can't say that I was able to spend a ton of time on it, but I did get to read through it. And there's a few things in here that I did get the pleasure of going over with her, which was nice to see that it's finally in print.
Hmm.
I'm very, very, very happy to see that. That's amazing. Specifically, Demo Hassan, the picture of Demo.
Yep.
That's awesome. Um, what was the other one? There was one more, and I was like, oh man, that's so cool that she got that in there. Hold on, I want to say it was in chapter 2. Um, I'm drawing a blank here. I just had it. Just thought about it. I should have wrote it down. Um, anyways, let's talk about when was the decision made that you wanted to write this book?
Um, I mean, definitely solidified after Tanya died. But I didn't really know what to write about. You know what I mean? I guess I could talk about interviewing Tanya, right? I mean, but me and Tanya talked a lot. We became good friends. Not just having this relationship where she's a contactee and I'm an investigator. We were friends. I
Hmm.
was friends with the woman, and we'd always kind of talked about what's going to happen next when she dies, because when I met her, she was in really poor health already,
Yeah.
and it was inevitable, right? Everybody dies. And I knew that she had a strained relationship with her kids, and she said her kids didn't really want anything to do with Indrid. That was kind of her, it seemed to kind of be her excuse, I guess, as to why they weren't publicly speaking out about it, is that they just were afraid or whatever, didn't want anything to do with him. Fine. So what happens when you die, Tanya? Does Indrid just stop visiting? Does he have a reason to visit anymore? Do you pass the reins on to someone else? And on a personal level, I guess I had kind of always hoped that I would be that person. That's why I befriended her in the first place, right? Was to meet Indrid Cold. If he's real, surely I can meet him. And but we would kind of talk about it, and I'd tell her, look, when you die, your story dies with you. Unless Indrid does start visiting somebody else, it
Yeah.
dies with you,
Mhm.
and there's nothing else to talk about. So then that would kind of convert to, oh no, I'll talk to Indrid. We'll get you guys together. You'll sit down, you can talk, and then whatever Indrid wants to talk, wants the world to know, that's what you can put out there. And I'm like, yeah, great, wonderful. Um, but it never happened. So she ends up dying. I really, and you can tell reading the book. I don't think it's quite the book a lot of people expected. It's not me writing and going, oh yeah, this all definitely happens. I certainly approach it with skepticism. I always have.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't shy away from that in the book itself, especially with Tanya's stories and Tanya's details, because I ended up reading, of course, I had read both books. But in order to write that one, man, I read them back to back, and there's so
Yeah.
much that's inconsistent. And it just solidified kind of what my theory was on Tanya's deal and what was going on there. Um, but towards the end of her death, she ended up having a pretty lengthy hospital stay, and she hadn't died yet, but she was definitely on her way out. And I think some people might remember, she had like a YouTube channel, or was on a YouTube channel for a while. I think it was Godspeed Ministries or something like that, and she was like making videos from a hospital bed. At that point in time, she was dying, and I talked to one of her kids, and it was what one of her kids said, which had kind of made me change my mind. So at that point in time, I just thought, Tanya's lying. She's making it up for whatever reason. Maybe she genuinely believes in this stuff, but she's making up her part in the story. Um, didn't know if Woody had made it up or not. Didn't matter for Tanya. Didn't think Indrid was visiting her. And when I talked to one of her kids about it, and her kid didn't deny Indrid, it was very telling to me, especially considering the context of the conversation that we had. Um, so, you know, that happened, and that kind of changed my perspective a little bit. But I never really got to touch base with Tanya again. In that regard to Indrid, we talked a lot about death. We talked a lot about. I had actually just prior to that had a near death experience myself, so I knew exactly what she was feeling. And but we didn't talk about Indrid anymore. And then she dies, and then I'm like, oh God, now what? Well, Tanya had been working on a second Indrid Cold book. She had sent me the parts of it that she had written. She didn't want to publish it under her previous publisher. She wanted to do it on her own. I was helping her with that process. But there really wasn't anything new in that book um, that could really be added to the story. And it's not in this book either. I didn't include it. At the end of the day, I sent it to her kids and I said, hey, this is yours. Do with it what you want. And let it be that. But then I had my own strange set of circumstances happened after she had died.
This
And
is this is what I wanted to talk about. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah,
Yes.
and we're going to.
Hmm.
And it was that set of circumstances that really, led me into throwing myself into a full-blown investigation with the topic. And of course, what just led me to writing the book. The book itself is part of the investigation. So I'm hoping this is part one. So, but let me tell you what her kids said to me, okay? Because this is
Yeah.
so important, I think, for people to hear. Because it's a crazy story, and we talked about it for 10 hours. It
Yeah.
sounds made up.
Yeah.
It does. And but there's all kinds of like little things like Woody and his wife getting divorced, and the wife going, it's not because Indrid isn't real, he is real, it's because I can't stand the drama. I can't stand him disappearing for weeks at a time to go to another planet. You have the psychologist report who said, yeah, he's cleared and he's good. Also, Indrid talked to me telepathically. There were different things about this story that added up to that point, but it's so bizarre. It's like there's no way. So, of course, I've always not believed it. And initially, we actually struggled with tying Tanya to Woodrow because if you look at Woody's obituary, Tanya's not listed on there as his daughter.
Really?
And she's not. And so we did a little digging. And then if you look at other things like in Visitors from Lanulos and you compare it to like genuine ancestry records, his wife's name is different. His son's name is different. Tanya's name is not different, but that didn't necessarily mean that she was related to him. She could have been a crazy person that just took on this personality, and we all just believed it because he's not around to say otherwise. But it turns out actually it was legitimate. I'm not sure
Okay,
why
good.
Oh wow,
it
man! I was gonna
was.
say,
It
oh man,
was.
Like,
Ashers
mm,
dropping
I'm like,
bombs over here.
this wasn't in
Jeez,
the book.
what?
No, it turns out Tanya was adopted, so Woodrow Danbury wasn't her biological dad, but that's
Okay.
important.
Yeah.
And I'll get into why I think it is. So, I don't know why his wife's name was changed. I don't know why his son's name was changed. I think his son may have changed his name later in life, and to avoid all this, that's fine.
Hmm.
The wife, I
mm.
don't know. Maybe it's because she was an adult at the time. I don't know. Anyway, but she was adopted by him. It was her dad. So she's very sick. One of her kids reaches out to me, and they go, yeah, hey, my mom's fine. She's in hospice right now, but she's gonna get out, right? She's okay. Um, she's gonna use this to ask for money. She has always done this her entire life. When she gets out of the hospital, she's going to tell everybody that she can't pay her rent, that she can't buy food, that she needs basic hygiene products, and she's going to probably start a GoFundMe. She's going to make people feel badly for her. Again, I don't. She, they said I don't talk to her anymore, and there's many reasons behind it. She was an accomplice to our abuse as kids, and I mean, this person had nothing nice to say about their own mother.
Mm.
Mhm.
And so I thought, here it is. Perfect. They're going to tell me that the whole Indrid thing is a ruse, right? It's all fake. It's all made up for money, which is what we all kind of maybe suspected for a long time, right? Let's be real.
Right. Yeah.
And, then they ask me, well, how do you know my mom? Because their mom is a 60-something-year-old woman in West Virginia, and I'm a 30-year-old redhead in Ohio. We're very different people. And I tell them, I'm like, oh, because of the Indrid stuff. And they just go, oh, yeah, I know Indrid. leave it at that. It says nothing more about it. Goes back into trauma dumping all over me about their terrible childhood and how awful their mom is. Um, and I didn't want to push anything. And I said that to them. I said, we're gonna have to talk about this another day. You don't have to talk about it another day, but I'd like to
Yeah.
talk to you about this some other time about Indrid. And then we just kind of started talking about bad parents because I'm same, right? So, um, we went that route. Um, it was very odd. It was a very strange thing to confirm because none of her kids have ever come forward and talked about this publicly. And I've tried, since then. It was that same kid who reached out to me that let me know that Tanya had passed, but didn't. We haven't talked since then, and it's not like I haven't tried to reach out to them. I have. So it kind of took a little longer than I wanted to for the book to come out because I didn't want to steal their story. Um, I wanted to give them a chance to jump in and share their piece, and it just never happened. So anyway, that was really interesting, and that has kind of been the theme the whole time for the Indrid Cold stuff. Is that every single time I am so sure that this is bullshit, something like that happens. So yeah, so there's that part of it. I'll let someone else talk for a minute.
Jake, you got anything?
I mean, when I was asking Tanya stuff about her story and everything, I think at one point she had mentioned something about you had to be sanitized or whatever to go and visit Lanulos because of the bacteria. And I was like, well, wouldn't that have been the same thing if Indrid was not walking around in some sort of a suit? He would be infected by our bacteria and stuff because it's different. She's like, oh no, they had immunities or something like that. And I was like, okay. And I just kind of let it go. And I'm just like, this lady's full of crap. I'm just like, okay, well, now that's not to say, I can't, if my dad has gone to Hawaii and I haven't, if someone was questioning me about his Hawaii experience, there'd be a lot of stuff I wouldn't know, right? Because I wasn't there. So I mean, I guess there's that, but yeah, I mean, I've always felt that this story was just a really cool story and nothing more, nothing less, right? But it's interesting that, I would imagine that if the kids have such a seething review of their own mother, that the second you say something about Indrid Cold, they'd be like, oh yeah, that bunch of shit, they'd, not be like, oh yeah, okay, so it's just, that's an interesting reaction. Hopefully at some point, hopefully in the near future, we could get more of, and that's, I guess, would be based off of you and your interactions with them because you're the one that's doing this, but they're coming out and saying like, yes, it's real, or no, it's not, or whatever it is, versus just kind of passively being like, oh yeah, that, okay, well. It's just like, because that would be interesting, that would definitely solidify for me that there's something there more so than where I'm sitting right now, where I'm just like, yeah, I mean, cool lady, really interesting tale, but that's it.
No, and I feel that entirely. I mean, yes, I'm a Fortean investigator. Yes, I've had very weird stuff happen to me. It doesn't mean that I believe everything that comes across my desk. I certainly don't. If anybody here listens to my show, they know that most of the time we're going to tell you why it's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, this is just one of those things that, as soon as I'm sure of it, something happens. And I'm like, what is the deal here? I
Right.
do hope that the kids do come forward and share their piece, or Indrid himself comes forward and says, "Okay, this is what you wanted. I'm here now." Again, Indrid, we're all nobodies. You're not at risk here. I promise to reveal yourself to any of us.
Shoot, he could show up right now behind me and I wouldn't even believe he existed. So I mean, I'd be like, nope, sorry, aliens aren't real. Bye.
Fucking Jake.
But yeah, it is. It was a really interesting wrench to throw into the whole thing. I still don't know what to make of it.
I've got a few things
Sure.
that I found interesting. Um, let's let's take a step back really quick because
Sure.
I want to talk about some of the issues that
Mm-hmm.
her kids were talking about because I've also seen a couple of them too. Um, the the asking for money thing, I saw that a lot. I ended up
That's
buying,
exactly what happened.
yeah, I ended up buying 5 additional books from her one time,
Wow.
uh, and I never got them.
Oh, I believe
Um,
that.
but yeah, she reached out. I'm not gonna read what she said, but I still have the chat. Um, I, I kn- if you find Tanya Derenberger on Facebook, she's actually wearing an Infinite Rabbit Hole shirt. Uh, Jake and I actually sent that to her. And I'll read just one line of a message that she sent to me, and it kind of hurt because not only did we help spread her GoFundMe that she had, we
Mm-hmm.
donated $100 to it. I bought 5 additional books from her that I was going to give away to listeners, as a giveaway that I never got. But then um, uh, she sends me a message saying that uh, she's asking if I can donate more Infinite Rabbit Hole shirts, and that she loves the one that she bought. She wears a 3X, and that she would like to have multiple colors, but she doesn't have the money to buy them. So she was wondering if I could donate them. Um, and that she assures me that she did purchase the first one off of our website. Well, we didn't have a website at the time. And I personally went on to a website that we have not made public at. Well, we did have a website. We just hadn't made it public yet. We were going through whatever the first website was, Jake. Not Redbubble. We went through
Yeah.
whatever
Whatever.
whatever it was. But we hadn't made it public yet, and it was literally one of the first purchases ever made from our very first t-shirt website was her t-shirt from the Infinite Rabbit Hole debit card, and sent to her. And she tried to convince me that she bought a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And I was kind of bummed out about that. But uh
Yeah.
and it was like every day she was sending me new things about, hey, I came home after surgery and my house was robbed, and I was like, man, like I'd love to help you, but this is becoming a lot. You um I don't make money off of this podcast. you know um so it was unfortunate that you know um I did get to see, I did get to see a really good side of her at times, really really good informative side of her at times, and that's what I like to remember about her. I like the anybody who's ever seen the episode that we did with her, that was the Tanya that I really appreciated being able to talk to. And there was a really good portion of time where Asher's put me in contact with her, where she was an open book and she was able to answer everything and anything that I had, and she was super super open about all of it. Very very easy to talk to.
Yeah,
Now,
she, initially when I first started talking to her, I really had to work to gain her trust. She wanted me to help her publish the second book for free, and she had like some formatting issues or something with the cover. And she wanted me to like edit it and stuff like that. And, that's all free labor, and I was more than happy to do it. But, at one point, I was not in the state. I was somewhere investigating something somewhere else. And, I'm in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone service. And I get back into town finally, and I have a myriad of messages where she's like going off, like she's mad. And she's like, well, if you're not going to help me, I'll find somebody else to help me. And blah, blah. I mean, she got super nasty with me. And I still did her cover anyway, because I wanted to gain her trust to
Yeah.
meet Indrid Cold. But then she stopped, and that kind of was a little surprising to me. She did not ask me for money or anything like that. As a matter of fact, she was a Patreon member one time at one point, for my podcast. But if you look her up on, just go on Facebook and type in Tanya Derenberger, you'll find posts where she's not just doing GoFundMe's and stuff on her page. She's on like Parkersburg local groups, asking
Yes.
for food, asking for money, asking for people to pay her bills. Um, she definitely has that kind of mentality, and I hate to say it, but man, I live in Dayton, Ohio. I know exactly the type, and she was that type.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, that was rough. I definitely saw two sides of her. Um and I was really bummed out to hear, of her passing. But I want to dive into the Indra Cold story, because
Yes.
I've also flip-flopped between bullshit and not bullshit, for the Indra Cold story quite a bit. And so, shoot, it was in November or October of this year, or last year, 2024, when I did a 4-part series on the Hollow Earth, when I convinced myself that Lanulos may be in the inside of the Earth. And have you ever heard of the abduction story of, oh crap, Carl Higdon?
I don't think so.
Carl Higdon. Give me just a second.
Okay.
Involves an awful lot of probing.
Is there hot dogs?
There's not. There should be. It would make the story better. Um,
I'm Googling it too while we're talking.
Hello, toe cozies.
this is the book that you need right here. If you're, I don't know if you're a book reader, but The Alien Abduction of the Wyoming Hunter. This is the alien,
Okay.
and there are a absolute ton of parallels between the abduction of Carl Higdon and the story of Indra Cold. Now, there are some differences, right? Carl Higdon was abducted in a clear cube. But just like how Woody Derenberger was taken off planet, but was able to look at a screen, and was able to, watch planets through the screen and watch the Earth pass and then approach Lanulos through a screen, Carl Higdon was able to basically watch outside of this clear cube. But they both went to these planets that were extremely advanced. The Lanulos had the way that they transported each other, or their form of locomotion, were these rail systems with carts that zoomed you back and forth. Same thing on the planet where Carl Higdon was taken. Then when I was doing my research on Hollow Earth, I came across, and I had to bring this up while you were talking because I was like, that this is definitely something that we're gonna have to talk about here. There was screw it, I'm just gonna read this real quick. The civilizations of these enormous beings were in the form of towns similar to those on the surface, and the men were in awe at the technology that was being used in the shape of a conveyor of sorts that transported the beings from point A to point B. Side note, if you listen to our coverage on the Indrid cold story, you would remember that Indrid was also a part of a race of larger beings from a planet with an intense sun and a conveyor-like transportation system. Side note 2, much of these descriptions are retold in our coverage of the Carl Higdon abduction as well. The man claimed to have spent almost an entire year with a family of these gigantic beings and was incredibly impressed at the size of their fruit compared to the ones common on the surface. Now remember, the diet of the Lanulosians, fresh fruit. One particular example he told was that the grapes in the interior lands were as big as the oranges from the surfaces. Another report was made by a man by the name of Olaf Jansen of Norway in a book titled The Smoky God by American writer Willis George Emerson. In his book, Olaf describes how the sun in the interior of the earth is smaller and duller than the one on the surface. The way he specifically described it was as if it was hidden by a layer of smoke all the time. Jansen, as a young adult, and his father took to this journey due to telling of a land of warmth beyond the ice and cold of the Arctic. The pair spent 2 years traveling through the inner Earth and exited in the South Pole of the planet. By the end of the journey, Jansen's father had passed away, and Jansen eventually settled in America, where he would pass on his story on his deathbed, as well as the maps that he had drawn up throughout his life of the lands he witnessed during the multi-year journey. The story also goes on to tell of large human-like beings with incredible scientific advances who fly saucers who live 400 to 800 years on average. Side note, this is the lifetime of a Lanulosian from the Indrid Cold story. This is all about civilizations from the inner Earth.
So, where does that source come from?
That source is. Bear with me. I don't know which one, but it's one of these. I don't know.
Quick, speed read through them and tell us which one it is.
I want to say. Okay, it's not. It's definitely not that one. It's not that. Not that. It's one of these two. It's either David Standish's Hollow Earth or Dr. Raymond Bernard's The Hollow Earth. They are absolutely phenomenal books. This one has an intro by David Hatcher Childers, and it's I don't know. It's absolutely these books are incredible. I'm not going to talk about those ones because they're not incredible. But these two are absolutely incredible. So yeah, there's other things too. I'm just not going to take up the entire episode by talking about all that. But just to draw some parallels for you, if you want to do some side research one day, the Carl Higdon story and Hollow Earth is something that you might want to look into.
There's some differences, but not anything that is major. Joe Simonton, the Space Pancakes guy. You know that story?
Yes, that's Wisconsin.
He described the aliens that cooked him up the pancakes as very Italian looking, which is also very Indrid Cold adjacent, right? And then the Lanulosians. This is hard to get used to. Tanya called them Lanulosians. Woody calls them Lanulosians.
I've called them Lanulosians.
Obviously, we need Indrid to settle this for us, right?
Yeah.
The people of Lanulos. How about that? They're one of their religious stories is about their discovery of not their discovery, but the gift of telepathy. Right.
Yep.
So one of their big selling points is that they can speak telepathically with people and, everybody. And that's why they don't really have violence on their planet is because it's not necessary. There's no miscommunications. There's no ill intent because they can speak to each other telepathically. But the origin story of that is that Earthlings crash landed on Lanulos And while they were trying to rebuild their ship with the resources at hand, they were bickering and fighting all the time. And they all went, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go this way. You go that way. I'm going to take this woman with me. You take that woman with you,
Hmm.
and they all kind of split up. And after some time of them going their separate ways and trying to kind of sit and rebuild life or build life there on the planet, um, they missed each other a lot. And God recognized that and gave them the power of telepathy, thinking that they had learned their lesson and having this disagreement, making them able to communicate with each other. But again, the most interesting aspect of that is that Earthlings crash landed on Lanulos, and they actually started from us, but we're not as cool as they are.
Yeah.
So,
That I covered that in the series where you were in. Um, that was one of the harder ones to patch together. I know Woody did a good job at talking about it, and Tanya didn't discuss it. I don't think she talked about it at all in her book.
no.
Um, I wish she did, but uh, see the thing that sucks about other than the simple fact that she's gone, which is sad. But what really sucks about the loss of Tanya when it comes to the injured cold story is that this feels like this is the end of the line, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And that's where I was really getting to when I was saying, it's really cool that you got some of this stuff down on black and white, uh, because as you've mentioned in your book, you're not taking the words or you're not retelling Woody's or Tanya's story.
No.
You're filling in the blanks. And
Yeah.
this is for anybody listening, right? This is what this book is. This is Asher's finishing some unfinished work is what this is. This is the details that were not included in Tanya's or Woody's books. So highly recommended that if you want the entire story of the injured cold story, you need to grab Visitors from Lanulos and Beyond Lanulos from Woody and Tanya, and then grab Asher's book as well, um, because she's going to fill in a lot of the gaps and add additional information that never made it out because Tanya's life unfortunately ended. Now, I am excited to hear, like you said before, that she was working on another piece and that you pass it on to her children. I hope that her
Hmm.
children do something with that. That would be really cool. Um, but if I heard you right, you said that there wasn't really anything new in it.
No, not really. It's just she starts to kind of go. And I didn't really include this part in there because remember when Indra died in Tanya's world?
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, yes I do.
And that just kind of muddied the waters a little bit more.
Hmm.
She kind of goes into, I mean, I guess I'll just say it, more details about like where he was staying, um, kind of potentially the healing process that he went to. So, she says he did get into like a spaceship accident. Um, but he was found by a mountain mama. He was found by some woman in Appalachia in Kentucky and went and stayed there. And, you know, I think, um, I think a lot of that has to do with Hellier and kind of the direction that they were going with. Because remember in Hellier, they allegedly knew where I think where Injured Cold lived at one
Mm.
point. And it was in a small town in Kentucky. And, that was no secret, right? That was all, you watch it right now. It's free on YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, go check that out. And, then kind of Alan Greenfield kind of got involved with it all. I mean, he had kind of been involved with it all a little bit. Greenfield, if you haven't had him on the show yet, get him on the show while you can.
Alan
But
Greenfield.
Alan Greenfield. Yeah. Oh, you don't know about Alan Greenfield. That's a conversation
Hold
for
on,
another.
hold on. Let me look him up. I might know him. Hold on. I
He's
just the name sounds familiar.
yeah, he's a character. Oh no, he'll tell you some shit. Um
I'm
yeah,
down.
he'll tell you some shit. Yeah. He's get him on. You won't be allowed to say anything. So don't research anything going into it. Just get him on, let him go.
Ooh, Men in Black, huh? Oh yeah. Yes.
Alan
Yes.
Greenfield.
Yes.
Love him. I do. I love talking to him. But he's hard to talk to about like, if I have a question about something specific, it's never
Huh.
just that. It's always 4 hours of everything else, and then maybe 15 minutes of that.
Really?
Yeah. So Alan Greenfield. Well, he's the one who took the picture of Dim Hassan at the
Mhm.
UFO convention. So anyway, so I don't know. I mean, I'll rip the band-aid off. I don't think Tanya had contact with Indrid Cold after a certain age. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Um, I think that Indrid's real. I think that really happened to Woodrow Derenberger. Um, I think that it affected Tanya a lot. Especially knowing I said this, she was adopted. Well, this is the conclusion I come to, but wait, there's more after that, and we'll get there. But to wrap it up, I mean, when I wrote the book, when I started sitting down to write it, that's the story I was writing. This didn't
Mhm.
happen to Tanya. It happened to Woody, and it
Yeah.
affected Tanya in a big way. So again, she was adopted. She already lost one father, her biological father. We don't know who or what, what the deal is there.
Yeah.
And early childhood development's a very interesting thing. So she gets adopted by this man who takes on that role, and I think they did have a really loving relationship. But again, she's 4 years old when this happens, and when this happens, it took her dad away, and I think that that was really damaging for her. The way that she speaks about Indrid is the way that you would speak about your dad that you love. Um, she talks about how Indrid's her protector. He's always going to make sure that, nothing bad happens to her. And he's always kind of just barely there when something unfortunate is happening. And
Mhm.
Tanya had a very unfortunate life, and there was always something unfortunate happening to her. She talks about Woodrow, like, oh, I was a daddy's girl. I think she said it on your guys' show. I was a daddy's girl. And no, she wasn't. Maybe she was initially, but she wasn't after all this happened. He was never home. Um, they got divorced when she was a teenager, and her mom moved them to a totally different state.
Yeah.
And then her and Woody didn't seem to have a relationship after that. I think that all of that was real. I don't know if his family came and they ate hot dogs in the backyard. I don't know if that's true. Um, I feel like it probably wasn't, but um, that doesn't matter. I think that Tanya did use this story eventually to cope. And then she learned that she could gain things out of it. And that's what I thought. That's what I was sold on. That's the story. But I don't know. I'm not so sure of that now. So,
No, it's a breath of fresh air to hear you say that, because it's, you know being in the community, it's always you're always hesitant to say things like that, right?
sure. Yeah.
Because you never know who you're going to piss off.
Yeah.
Special especially in the stupid world that is Facebook freaking groups
Oh,
and
yeah.
Twitter and Instagram, and and everyone's got their stupid opinions about stupid things, and it's you know somebody out there, or a lot of people out there, may be really attached to the Injure Cold story. Especially, I love, thank you so much. This is the thing that I wanted to say. This is what I forgot. Thank you for calling out the stupid smiling man bullshit.
Yes.
That is so stupid. I called that out in my series too. It's so stupid. I don't know where the hell they got that from. Sorry, but
John Keel.
it's yeah, it's ridiculous. There's no connection between the Grinning Man and Injure Cold. There is.
What are you getting? What are you getting all worked up over?
the grinning man. There is a paranormal entity known as the grinning man, right? Okay, but it's not Indrid
Okay.
Cold. It's a completely separate entity, and it has nothing to do with Indrid Cold. Okay, Indrid Cold isn't watching you sleep. He's not, hanging over you. He's not the reason
He's
why
not
you have.
watching. He's not watching you sleep. He's watching Asher sleep, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's just like this.
He's like, I read your introduction. I'm here.
I'm here.
So,
You're gonna kiss her on her forehead and whisper sweet nothings.
Tanya said you were looking for me. Sorry, that was bad.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
I hope
That
it
was
happens that way. I just hope it happens. I don't care how it happens. I just want it to happen.
That would be cool. That would be really cool. That could you like that would I want it to happen, not to freak you out, but I just want it to happen because I want Tanya to prove us all wrong. Right?
You know what?
You just-
If it happened that way, nobody would believe me.
No.
They wouldn't.
Wake up because you feel something tickling your toes and it's Indrid Cold at the foot of your bed.
It's like that Bill Murray story that goes around every little bit. He went in, he ate the French fry, and he looked at the person and said, "Nobody's gonna believe you." And he's right.
Mhm.
Nobody believes them. That's what it's gonna be.
Oh man, that's great. Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, there's a weird smiling entity that has a creepy grin on its face, and people see it, and I get tons of reports of people seeing it, right? Especially being the Indrid Cold person, and that's not Indrid.
It's not
just
Indrid.
not. Are they seeing something? I'm sure, but it's not Indrid Cold.
But I totally agree with you that the Indrid Cold story is a Woody Derenberger story. I agree that I do not believe, I hate to say it out loud because I don't think I've ever said it out loud, because I respect Tanya, and I don't want to be that guy, and I'm hesitant to say it, but I don't believe that Tanya ever had an adult relationship or a relationship with Indrid Cold in her adult life. She may have had a relationship with one of his kids, when they brought him over. But I think the only thing that you can really look as canon is the Indrid Cold book. You have to be careful when you get into Tanya's book. You have to be really careful when you get into Gray Barker's book. And you have to be careful even when you get into John Keel. And I love John Keel. I absolutely adore John Keel's work. I just love his mind. I love everything about John Keel. But even, when you get into the Mothman prophecies, you got to be careful with some of the information that he had gotten a hold of, because you have to look at his sources. He trusted Gray Barker a lot, and we've learned that Gray Barker wasn't really the best of sources. After he passed away, it all came out that he literally had the opinion that a lot of this was bogus, and he had, came out from his wife that he had admitted to her multiple times that he was doing this just because this paid the bills. And if you look at the books that he wrote, he had a multitude of new information that nobody else did on all the big subjects. I wonder why, so yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. Yeah. Cool.
Well, and again, as much as I would love to say case closed, that's the end of it, we'll never see Indrid Cold again. Why don't I issue the bombshell of the book? If you want the proof, it's in there. You can go look at it yourself.
Don't share. Give them something to read.
You
can't do it.
Yeah. I ordered your book just now. If you throw in spoilers, I am going to cancel my order right now.
Skeeter also ordered your book too.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, we'll be forced to cancel our orders. I don't even know how to read, but I'm gonna try just for you.
Learn how to read just to read my book.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. If you want to, go ahead.
It's important.
Spotlight's all yours.
I don't want to leave it there. So I gave my first lecture about Indrid Cold in June of last year, 2024. What's this year? I don't even know. I think it was last year. And it's mostly came to the conclusion of, Tanya's just crazy, right? And this never really happened. But while I'm, gearing up for this talk, even though I don't do a formal presentation, I do like a background of like where you can follow me or whatever. And then I'll do some like notes for myself on my phone. That way I have them. And while I'm doing all that, something strange started happening. So, Jeremy kind of knows my podcast went through a lot of changes. On Wednesdays, we talk weird. Got a new co host for the show, Tobias Whalen. Great, love him. He's doing awesome on the show. Um, we kind of have these meetings every little bit. The show definitely went from a little more amateur to a little more professional kind of recently. And we're trying to spitball out different ideas, right? And what do the kids love? We want to get a younger demographic attracted to the show. And what do they love? They love TikTok, short form content. Um, Me and Tobias are both millennials. He's an elder millennial. I'm on the younger end of the spectrum. But we don't know how to TikTok. We're not good at that. So, which is crazy because everybody says I'd be great at it, and they're probably right, but I don't know how, y'all. So, we're talking about just throwing some clips up on TikTok of the podcast, getting people to go listen to the actual thing. How can we learn how to do this? And I was like, well, I'll download it again. I've had it before, couldn't figure it out. Let me download it again. I'll play with it. So I do. I download it again, log in with my same credentials, and I start getting a weird notification. And the notification would say, Tanya Derenberger is following you. And I was like, weird. The first time it happened, it was just her name. And I went to the app, I opened it up, and it'll tell you all your notifications, right there in order, just like any app.
Mhm.
And there was no new notification of anybody named Tanya Derenberger following me. And she was already dead at this point, at least by a year, right? And so I closed it, didn't think anything of it, right? TikTok, it's the Chinese app. It's got lots of issues. Apps do that.
All apps do
Sure.
that. Yeah.
All apps have those issues. But then it happened again. And then it started saying Tanya Derenberger and, 9 other people are following you. And I'm like, what is this? And I go to the app and I could see where like somebody followed me like weeks ago. And I'm like, okay, does Tanya even have TikTok? I go and look, she does have TikTok. Was she following me? She was following me. As a matter of fact, TikTok will tell you exactly the date that somebody started following you. And she started following me back in February. Actually, it was Valentine's Day, the right before she died. So definitely, I wasn't active then at the time. It was her TikTok account. It was definitely hers, but no activity on it at all because she died like
Yeah.
2 months later, and but this kept happening again and again and again. And so I go and I give the talk about Indrid. Even though I didn't get any Indrid cold leads, I did get a super interesting lead. I actually ended up having a breaking story over in the podcast. You should go check that out about a guy named Jack Overby, who had on his gravestone transcribed on his grave. Deceased had contacts and conversations with outer space life from the year 1928 until death, which is a whole, like I said, that's a whole rabbit hole, and I didn't really catalog it in the book. I might do its own book on it.
Huh.
But somebody was like, could that be Indrid? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, hell, 1928, that predates Roswell. That predates modern ufology.
That does.
Super interesting story. Not Indrid Cold. The beings he saw were like an ethereal skeleton and a little green man that came
Wow.
from space.
Huh.
Anyway, so kind of got busy with that story a little bit because somebody had approached me and asked if I knew anything about the gravestone. It was on his and his mom's gravestone, and I'd never heard of it. And nobody had. I thought I'd be able to go home and Google search what these gravestones were, and nobody knew the story. Eventually I found out the story, and I just found that out like 2 months ago. So awesome. Anyway, so I'm also trying to come up with some explanation for this TikTok situation. Meanwhile, I'm also looking into different ways to try to communicate with Indrid Cold. If he's real, surely I can reach him. I know he speaks telepathically. What can I do? I start doing spirit box sessions. I made an Indrid Cold shrine in my bedroom. Because if you want to contact certain gods and goddesses, that's what you do. I'm going to start. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm going to start doing CE5 sessions.
Are
Where's
you really?
I am, yeah. When it gets warmer outside, I sure am to try to contact Indrid. I found a medium, a couple who's a husband and wife medium who claims to talk to not ghosts but aliens and tried to kind of get them involved. I'm like, great, you can help me talk to Indrid. They wanted to charge me like $200, and I'm not paying that, so it's not happening. But I'm definitely, looking for other ways to try to make contact with this guy, right?
Huh.
And so far, nothing's worked. Doesn't mean nothing will, just so far, nothing has. And all the while, the Entered Cold notification, I'm sorry, the Tanya Derenberger notifications continue. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I started posting them every time they happened on social media, and people were like, "Oh, it's just a bot account. They've just created a new Tanya Derenberger account." It was none of those things. It just wasn't. There was no indication that it was, and so eventually, I get the bright idea to message the account myself, and I said hello, and it didn't send. The message didn't send on TikTok, and that was weird. Maybe about a month later, I don't have it in front of me. Sometime later, I get the notification again. I send another hello, and it didn't go through. Um, and at this point, I was getting like multiple notifications a week, and I would sit and I would, catalog what it was I was doing at that time. Was there something significant to what I was doing compared to when I was getting these messages? I found no correlation. Um, but one time it popped up and I messaged it again and I said hello. And the message sent. And I said Indrid question mark. And it sent. But Indrid Cold left me on red and never responded.
That
So
piece of crap.
it really hurt my feelings.
Hmm.
But true story. I've got the screenshot of it in the book.
She does.
Look, go look at it. That actually happened, and the notifications have stopped ever since then. So, and I know that sounds so stupid, right? It's TikTok, woman. This isn't proof of anything. I guess so. But before this point, every time I did a show about Injured Cold, we wouldn't be able to get through it.
Mhm.
We'd have to reschedule for another day. We'd have connection issues. Electrical issues are things that tend to happen in high strangeness, especially and things surrounding those Ohio River Valley high strangeness
Oh
events.
yeah.
Um, Different things. I was telling my daughter about it one time, and she plays this game. It's called Slime Rancher, and she was on the Wikipedia page. And while we're talking about Indrid, all of a sudden the whole Wikipedia page crashes. And it's like, again, none of this would matter on its own, but it's the fact that it would happen every single time. That was fucking weird. And so, here I am now in the next logical step that I had. I wanted to try to investigate a little bit more because the book, I'll be honest with you, I'm self-conscious about its size. I wanted it to be big and thick. And
Oh
but
god.
there's nothing else to add right now. And I needed to get it out there because I need everybody's help to try to maybe come up with some more ideas. Maybe we can all do a session together. We can all do CE5 together while we sit and meditate and try to make contact with Indrid. I don't know. I'm here for it, man. Whatever it is, it sounds nuts, but if I'm gonna go off the deep end, I'm diving in head first. Let's do it.
Well, like I said, it's definitely an accent piece, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't think you have anything to worry about. Anybody who knows the Injured Cold story knows the value of the information that's in it. It's
Yeah.
good stuff, right? It's very valuable additional information, and I like the way that you approach it. Right, you clearly say that you're not here to rip off Woody or Tanya, right? You're here to
Yeah.
add to their story because neither of them are here to do it, right?
Yep.
Um, which is great. That's the way it should be done. Um, especially in somebody in your position, right? You had that personal connection with Tanya, and applaud you for that. You know, at some point, you know, I will be doing a book of all my favorite subjects, and you know, I'm going to touch on Indrid as well. I probably will, you know, visit it from, you know, some. I'll probably tell the story, you know,
Sure.
uh, and tell of my experiences with Tanya, but you have a lot of stuff that nobody else will ever have, right?
Yes.
You had in-person stuff, and that's what's in this book.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
stuff that makes this book valuable. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. I had fun reading the book.
well, and you know, at the end of the day, I mean, that's what it is. Yeah, I could pad it with a bunch of bullshit. I could talk about he who shall not be named, who was not named in the book, and all that lore that's added into it.
Mhm.
But I didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be genuine. You know, that's the hard part. And I think I mentioned that in the book. That's the tough part about the Injured Cold story is that there are some very inconsistent resources for it. There's not a good reference guide.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to kind of make that as well. You know, on top of adding what I've learned to it, and you know, who knows? What I've learned could just be complete bullshit. I don't know. You know, Tanya could have lied the whole time. Maybe she didn't lie at all, and maybe I'm the asshole for calling her a liar, and maybe that's why Indrid won't talk to me, right? I don't know.
But
You
like
know?
even if it is all bullshit, right? The fact that it came from Tanya, and the fact that you were able to confirm that she did have a parental connection with Woody, even if it wasn't blood, which is fascinating because that I didn't know that, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
incredible that you were able to hammer that out and weed through that and able to find out that she was adopted. That's brand new information.
yeah,
Um, that's awesome, right? That's
yeah,
information that you're not gonna get anywhere else.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So no, good job. Very good
Thank you.
job.
I'll take it.
Very good job. So that's all I got for you. I'm ready to go to bed.
Me too. I hate the time change. I wish it would jump off the cliff that I'm jumping off of. Um, well, no, I don't, because then it goes with me, right? No, so it can stay here.
You stay,
Yeah,
I'll
and
jump, right?
well, exactly. Yeah, I'm sleepy. But no, I appreciate you having me on. You know, again, if I think I said it in the book, and I'll say it here, and I say it every time. If you or anybody you know has a relationship with Indrid Cold or Dimo Hassan or Carl Ardo or Clennell. I like Clennell. I think he seems down to earth. God, there's so many other players besides Indrid, and that's like a thing. That's like it's a whole universe, right? The Indrid verse.
Hmm.
That people should
The
be looking
Indrid
into.
verse.
The Indrid verse. Yeah, it is. It's this whole thing. The one guy, well, I think Dim Hassan was from Saturn, but he's not from Saturn. We know he's not from Saturn. Nobody lives on Saturn. We know that. Anyway, the nuances. But if you or anybody you know has been in contact with an alien life form that looks human, is kind of what I'm going for. They have to look pretty human, and also especially if they talk telepathically, and they drive a black car. Let me know. Hit me up. I want their
or
phone
or
number.
or a beetle, right?
Usually a beetle. Usually a beetle.
That was Demo Hassan, and
Black beetle.
there was a female character in there, wasn't there?
There was, and her name is weird and hard to
Yeah, I
pronounce.
can't remember it either.
Yeah, there was a whole key of other people that nobody talks about. They all only talk about Indrid.
Yeah,
You know?
the inclusion of a female character is kind of weird. Just in case anybody doesn't know the whole story of Indrid Cold, it is there's been conflicting reports about females being able to travel within the groups on
Well,
craft.
that's
So
what Tanya said. Tanya
yeah,
was the one who made that claim. Woody never said anything about that.
right.
Uh, which was one of those inconsistencies. I have a part in the book where I kind of compare and contrast
Yeah,
her story versus her dad's, and you know, that's one of them that was kind of strange, especially because Tanya says that, you know, Kimmy and Kimulus, which is Indrid's wife and daughter, both came to Earth, and it's like, well, I thought they couldn't travel here, you know. But what an easy out, you know, for her to have an excuse to have not gone to Lanulo. So
Yeah. Well, I hope that one day I get to hear you guys, you and Tobias, break down the Carl Higdon abduction story
that
and
sounds cool. Yeah.
dive into Carl and Ozo 1. That's the name of the alien, Ozo. Um,
Cool.
I I would love to hear you guys break that down and see what kind of parallels you can draw, because I know I
Text me that book so I don't forget it.
yeah. I'll send you a picture here in a
Mhm.
minute. Or I'll you want me to just send you an Amazon link? I can do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um, but before we let you go, why don't you go ahead and share your socials,
Oh,
your podcast, anything, and let everybody know where they can find
that's right. I am cool enough now to say that if you
you.
Google my name, I'll pop up. But I'll make it simple for you. You can find me talking weird every Wednesday. On Wednesdays, we talk weird anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find me on social media. Facebook, I am Ashley Hilt. I'm the one with the red hair. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter X. I'm not calling it Twitter. At it's Ashers with a Z. And like I said, if you just Google me, you'll find what you're looking for, I'm sure.
Right on. All right. Well, this one also ran a little late, so I'm not gonna share any artwork with anybody today. Or well, I guess I was just being lazy. Jake, should I share my artwork of the new show? Should I do it?
Yeah,
Should I?
share it.
Yeah, share it.
Sorry, I was
Please.
quiet the whole time. I was just listening and researching what you guys were talking about. So I have a million tabs open on my computer. I'm like, hot dogs and UFOs.
All right.
Who are these researchers?
I guess I'll officially announce the new show tonight. Sorry, Ashers, I don't mean to take away from your fun. But
It's your show, man. Do what you got to do.
I'll just announce it real quick, and then we'll take off. All I need is for you to hang out just for a second. After we're done, that way I can Riverside's going to download your audio, and when that is that, you can go to bed. All
I'm
right.
a professional. I know how this goes.
All right. So, everybody, I would like to introduce you to Decoding Reality. This is the new podcast that you will be seeing. The target date is July 1st. That is when I am aiming for the release of the first episodes. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Very cool.
if you are not watching live right now, you are not seeing the artwork for the cover of Decoding Reality.
If you are not watching live, there's a naked man on the artwork.
That's a naked Big Feet.
Oh, I'm sorry. A naked
Yeah.
primates.
Look at
on
them
the artwork.
thighs too, man.
Oh yeah. There's four sets of thighs.
4 sets of juicy thighs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ain't no way he's sneaking around the woods with them things clapping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But that is it. This is my my documentary series that is coming sometime this summer. Targeted date July 1st. So hang tight, and yeah. And then the book cover is still in the works. So that will be coming at a later date. Hang tight. All right, everybody. That has been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. Asher, thank you very much for showing up again. I can't say that I'm happy that I'm not forcing you into another 10-hour stint. We kept it to under 2 hours this time. So
It's impressive. It's a first.
it is a first. But there's always next time.
Yes.
And speaking of next time, until next time, travelers, we'll see you probably with Jeff next time. Back to having no hair.
Yeah, no
Right?
hair, not redhead Jeff.
Back to maybe wearing a tinfoil hat. We don't know. Right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Yeah, say bye, Asher.
Oh, bye, Ashers.
How
Bye,
how
Asher.
how would they know?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
So for some reason, so refresh the page and try again. If the problem persists, please contact support. What? Why is it doing that?